Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Drones and missiles have been launched against Kyiv just as African leaders arrive in Ukraine on a peace mission. The African delegation from 7 countries, including leaders from South Africa, Senegal and Egypt, arrived in Kyiv earlier to begin what's been touted as a peace mission. They then went to the city of Bucha, where Ukrainian authorities say more than 1,400 people died during Russia's occupation, including 37 children. They later met President Volodymyr Zelensky in the capital before heading to Russia tomorrow. The group has agreed to engage with Zelensky and Mr. Putin on a ceasefire and lasting peace. The initiative comes just as Kyiv launches its counter-offensive against the Russian invasion and fighting intensifies, making a ceasefire or deal look unlikely in the short term. NATO defence ministers have met in Brussels for a second day of talks to prepare the upcoming Vilnius Summit of Leaders, which will discuss support for Ukraine and security guarantees. Opening the meeting, Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said he expected leaders to discuss boosting ammunition supplies from industry and a commitment to higher defence spending. They are also set to discuss how best to assure Ukraine's security until it can join the military alliance.
Today we will prepare the ground for the NATO summit in Vilnius, where leaders will take decisions to further strengthen our deterrence and defence. We will review our updated plans for the defence of Europe. We will take steps to ensure our industrial base can meet higher demand, and we will develop a new, more ambitious defence investment pledge, which I expect will set 2% of GDP as a minimum to invest in defence.
A deadly tornado has swept through a northern Texas town, killing 3 people and injuring dozens more. Perryton, which is near the Oklahoma border, appears to be the centre of an intense storm system that has carved its way through the south. Surrounding areas are sending emergency crews to assist the town, home to about 8,000 people. A further 75 people have been taken to hospital. Tropical cyclone Biparjoy has made landfall in India's western Gujarat state close to the Pakistan border, unleashing powerful gusts of wind that has ripped up trees and toppled electricity poles. At landfall, Biparjoy was equivalent to a strong tropical storm with winds of 65 miles per hour. As it moves slowly inland, the winds and storm surge threats are expected to diminish, with flooding becoming the most significant impact for millions of people over the next 48 hours. Heavy rainfall warnings are expected to remain in place for the northwest of India until the end of Saturday. Finland's far-right Finns party has agreed to enter a coalition government with the centre-right National Coalition Party and 2 other groups. The party, which secured second place in April's election, had sought drastic cuts to immigration during talks. The minority language Swedish People's Party and the Christian Democrats will be the other 2 parties in government. The new coalition sees outgoing Prime Minister Sanna Marin and her centre-left party ousted from government. The National Coalition Party came first in the election, winning 48 seats. And Pope Francis has arrived at the Vatican after having been discharged from Rome's Gemelli Hospital 9 days after he underwent surgery to repair an abdominal hernia. The 86-year-old left hospital in a wheelchair, waving to reporters and well-wishers at the main entrance as he was taken to a waiting car. Before returning to the Vatican, the Pope stopped to pray at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, a stop he makes before and after every trip abroad. Francis travels to Portugal at the start of August and Mongolia at the end of that month. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.